Supreme Commander Lee Seo stood in the command center of the UES Eternal and watched the galaxy burn. The Devourers had arrived 20 years early, and they were even worse than the architects had warned. Entire star systems vanished in hours. Billions of lives consumed and added to the Devourer hive mind. The Galactic Confederation's fleets had lasted less than a day against the alien swarm, but humanity was ready. All human colonies report connection established, Dr. Yoon Hana announced from her station. The consciousness-linking technology that had started with single ships now connected every human settlement across the galaxy. 50 billion human minds joined together as one, while still keeping their individual thoughts and feelings. It was the largest collective consciousness ever created, and it thought with impossible speed and clarity. Devourer main force is approaching the Sol system, reported Captain Nam-gi from his ship near Earth. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Lee Seo nodded. Everything they had built, everything they had learned would be tested in the next few hours. Either humanity would save the galaxy, or they would all become part of the Devourer collective. Signal Captain Kang Hyun. Tell him it's time. Far across the galaxy, the original horizon had evolved beyond recognition. After centuries with the architects and decades of human innovation, it was no longer just a ship. It was a living extension of human will, capable of existing in multiple dimensions and realities at once. Captain Kang Hyun, now housed in an architect-designed synthetic body that would last forever, felt the signal through the consciousness link. Around him, his crew prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. Dr. Lim Wu, is the transformation device ready? He asked. As ready as we can make it, the physicist replied. But I still don't know if it will work. We're trying to heal minds that have been consuming others for millions of years. The device they had built was not a weapon. It was something much more powerful, a cure. Using architect rehabilitation protocols, they hoped to break the addiction that turned species into devourers, but it would require enormous sacrifice. Every human consciousness would have to merge temporarily to create a healing wave strong enough to reach across the entire galaxy. All ships. This is Supreme Commander Lee Seo. The message came through the link. President Oyuna has given the final authorization. Begin the procedure. Across human space, people close their eyes and let their minds join the great collective. Children in schools, farmers in their fields, scientists in their laboratories, soldiers on warships, miners on asteroids, artists in their studios. All of humanity became one voice. Dr. Ko Yeon, working with Captain Nam-gi from the research station orbiting Earth, began the complex process of folding space around their consciousness. They reached out through dimensions that normal matter could not touch, searching for the heart of the Devourer swarm. What they found was not what they expected. The Devourers were not evil monsters. They were the remains of thousands of species who had found architect ruins and made the wrong choice. Instead of learning cooperation and compassion, they had chosen to consume and dominate. They're trapped. Dr. Ko Yeon reported through the link. They want to stop, but they can't. The consumption addiction is too strong. At the center of the swarm, the original devourer species still existed. They had been explorers once, curious and brave like humans. But when they found architect technology, they used it to absorb other minds instead of connecting with them. Now they were prisoners in their own collective, screaming silently as their bodies consumed galaxy after galaxy. We can save them, Captain Kang Hyun realized, but we'll have to risk everything. The horizon moved through folded space, appearing at the heart of the devourer swarm. Around it, ships the size of moons turned their attention to this new threat. Energy beams that could crack planets struck the human vessel. The horizon absorbed every attack and kept moving forward. Beginning consciousness bridge, Dr. Park Sua announced from the horizon's bridge. She was the key to the entire plan. Her studies of alien psychology had shown her how to reach minds that had been twisted by centuries of consumption. The healing wave began on Earth and spread outward at faster than light speed. Every human mind contributed something different to the mixture. Scientists added logic and analysis. Artists contributed creativity and beauty. Children offered innocence and wonder. Soldiers provided courage and determination. But most importantly, they all offered forgiveness. The wave struck the devourer swarm like a gentle rain on burning ground. For the first time in millions of years, the consumed minds felt something other than hunger. They felt understanding, acceptance, and hope. Deep within the collective, the original devourer species heard human voices calling to them across dimensions of space and time. "We know what you've done," the voices said. "We know how much you've hurt. But you can stop now. You can be free." The rehabilitation protocol designed by the architects eons ago began to work. The addiction that had driven the devourers to consume was broken by an outpouring of compassion from 50 billion human souls. One by one, the consumed civilizations began to emerge from the collective. Species that had been absorbed centuries ago found themselves alive again, their individual consciousness restored. Worlds that had been converted into devourer ships began to change back into planets where people could live. The process took 3 days. When it was finished, the galaxy was full of life again. Trillions of beings who had been prisoners in the devourer hive mind were free to think and feel and choose for themselves. But the cost had been enormous. The effort of healing an entire galaxy had pushed human consciousness to its limits. Many people fell into comas from the strain. Others found their memories confused, mixing their own experiences with those of alien minds they had touched. President Oyuna, her hair now white from stress, addressed the galaxy from the rebuilt Earth Command Center. "We did not save you to rule you," she said to the countless species now looking to humanity for leadership. "We saved you because that's what family does for each other." Captain Kang Hyun, speaking for all the humans who had sacrificed their individual consciousness to create the healing wave, announced the formation of the Architect Concordat. It would be a new kind of alliance based on cooperation instead of domination. "The galaxy is vast," he said, "but we'll explore it together, as one family among the stars." The former devourers, now free of their addiction, became humanity's greatest allies. They had seen the worst that consciousness could become, and they were determined to help others avoid their mistakes. Species that had been enemies for millions of years began working together. The Zilithians shared their trade networks freely. The Kyrax offered their research to anyone who wanted to learn. The Drakon became protectors instead of conquerors. But the greatest change was in how they thought about consciousness itself. The human example had shown them that minds could connect without losing individuality. That cooperation was stronger than competition. That love was more powerful than fear. Dr. Park Sua, now leading the first expedition to the Architect homeworld, prepared to unlock the next chapter of galactic civilization. In the ruins of that ancient world, she hoped to find answers to new questions. What other threats existed beyond the galaxy? What other species might need healing? What new wonders waited to be discovered by minds working together instead of apart? As her ship prepared to leave, she looked back at Earth, the small blue world that had changed everything. 300 years ago, the horizon had left as explorers seeking new homes. They had returned as teachers, bringing not just technology but wisdom. The lost Earthship had not just come back with machines that could reshape matter and fold space. It had brought something much more valuable. The knowledge that consciousness, when guided by compassion, could heal any wound and overcome any darkness. Humanity had claimed their birthright among the stars, not through conquest, but through the simple act of caring about others as much as they cared about themselves. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and now finally everyone could explore it together. Fleet Admiral Park Du watched the alien warships approach and felt sorry for them. The Confederation had sent their most powerful battle fleet to force humans to share their technology. 200 ships armed with the best weapons their species could build. They had no idea what they were flying into. "Dr. Shinnari, how many crew members have completed consciousness expansion?" Park Du asked his science officer. "All of them, Admiral. Every human in the fleet is connected through the neural link." "We're ready," Park Du nodded. The consciousness expansion procedure allowed humans to share thoughts and coordinate actions with perfect precision. But more than that, it let them think in ways that individual minds could not achieve. "Signal the fleet. Prepare for defensive action only. Remember, we're not here to destroy them. We're here to teach them." The alien fleet entered the Kepler system where human colonies had been thriving. Chancellor Vextar himself commanded the operation from his massive flagship. He expected the humans to surrender when they saw the size of his force. Instead, 12 human ships rose to meet them. "This is Admiral Park Du of the Earth Defense Force. You are entering human space without permission. Please state your intentions." Vextar's neck frills turned red with anger. "Surrender your illegal technology immediately, or we will take it by force." "I'm afraid we cannot do that." This technology is dangerous in the wrong hands. Then you have chosen war. The alien fleet opened fire. Energy beams and missiles filled space, all aimed at the small human formation. Any normal ships would have been destroyed instantly, but these were not normal ships. The human vessels seemed to dance through the weapons fire. They moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. When one ship twisted left, another moved right at exactly the same moment. When one dropped low, another climbed high. Commander Yute, commanding the UES Defiant, watched the alien weapons pass harmlessly around his ship. Through the consciousness link, he could feel his crew's thoughts blending with crews on other vessels. Together, they moved like one organism with 12 bodies. Beginning counterattack, he announced to the fleet. The human ships fired back, but not with weapons the aliens expected. Strange beams of light struck the alien vessels and something impossible happened. The weapons on the alien ships began to change. Missile launchers became medical equipment. Energy cannons turned into food processors. Armor plating transformed into comfortable furniture. "What are you doing to us?" Vextar screamed over the communication channel. "We're showing you a better way." Admiral Park Du replied calmly. "Those are matter reconstruction beams. They can change anything into anything else." The alien crews stared in shock as their warships became cargo vessels, filled with supplies their colonies desperately needed: medical equipment, farming tools, water purifiers, and educational computers. "This is impossible," whispered General Thokvar from his flagship, which was now equipped with the most advanced hospital facility his species had ever seen. Dr. Ko Yeon, working alongside the returned scientist Dr. Moon Jun, had made this breakthrough possible. They discovered that human empathy was the key to controlling architect technology. The ancient builders had valued compassion above raw intelligence. The architects weren't warriors, Dr. Ko Yeon explained in her report to Earth Command. They were teachers and healers. Their technology responds best to minds that want to help, rather than hurt. This was why other species could not use architect devices effectively. The Zilithians were too focused on profit. The Kyrax were too logical and cold. The Drakon were too aggressive. Only humans had the right balance of intelligence and compassion. The Battle of Kepler Station became famous throughout the galaxy, but not for the reasons anyone expected. For the first time in galactic history, a military conflict had ended with both sides being better off than when it started. The alien ships, now converted into humanitarian vessels, began distributing supplies to colonies that had been struggling for years. Silithian worlds received advanced medical equipment. Kyrax systems got new computers for their research. Drakon planets received farming tools to feed their growing populations. Chancellor Vextar found himself in command of a hospital ship, watching his crew save lives instead of taking them. He had expected to return home as a conqueror. Instead, he was becoming something he had never planned to be: a helper. "This is humiliating," he told his officers. "We came to conquer them and they turned us into charity workers." But his officers were not listening. They were too busy learning how to operate the medical equipment and treat patients from species they had only fought before. For the first time in their lives, they were making other beings healthier and happier, instead of making them afraid. The news of the battle spread through the galaxy faster than light. Species that had spent centuries fighting each other suddenly had examples of human ships that could end conflicts by helping everyone involved. Dr. Ko Yeon received the first request 3 days later. It came from the Kyrax Collective, the most logical and emotionless species in the galaxy. "We wish to study human emotional responses," the message said. "Our preliminary analysis suggests that your feelings make your technology more effective. We want to understand how this is possible." More requests followed. The proud Zilithians asked for lessons in cooperation. The aggressive Draken wanted to learn about peaceful conflict resolution. Even the mysterious Etherian Collective, who rarely spoke to other species, sent observers to study human colonies. President Oyuna found herself hosting delegations from species who had treated humans as inferior for centuries. Now they came as students asking to learn from human teachers. "What exactly do you want to know?" she asked the Kyrax delegation leader. "How do you maintain individual identity while working as a collective? How do you balance logic with emotion? How do you make decisions that benefit everyone instead of just yourselves?" Dr. Shin Nari, who had perfected the consciousness expansion technology, tried to explain. We don't lose ourselves when we link our minds. We become more than we were before. Each person contributes their unique perspective to the whole. The aliens struggled to understand. They had built their civilizations on competition and hierarchy. The idea of voluntary cooperation seemed impossible to them, but some began to learn. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young Zilithian trader named Velkath had been converted by one of the matter reconstruction beams. Instead of being angry, he was fascinated. "You gave up the chance to destroy us," he told Captain Namgi. "You could have taken our ships and made us your prisoners. Instead, you helped us." "Why would we want prisoners?" Namgi asked. "We'd rather have friends." Velkath spent weeks studying human behavior. He watched how human crews worked together, how they made decisions, how they treated other species. Slowly, he began to understand. "They're not weak," he reported to his government. "Their compassion makes them stronger, not weaker. They can do things we cannot do because they care about others as much as themselves." His report caused a revolution in Zilithian society. For the first time in their history, they began to question whether profit was the most important goal in life. Similar changes happened throughout the galaxy. Species that had never cooperated began working together on projects that benefited everyone. Ancient enemies signed peace treaties and started trading instead of fighting. But not everyone was happy with these changes. Chancellor Vextar watched his power crumble as his own people began adopting human ideas. They questioned his authority, demanded representation in government, and insisted on helping other species instead of conquering them. In secret, he began meeting with leaders from other species who felt the same way, military commanders who missed the old days of glorious battle, politicians who had lost influence as their people stopped fearing other species, merchants who could no longer exploit desperate colonies. "The humans are destroying everything we built," Vextar told the group. "If we don't stop them, they'll turn the entire galaxy into some kind of peaceful cooperative." General Thokvar, who had been embarrassed when his warship became a medical vessel, nodded agreement. "My warriors are learning to be healers. They sing lullabies to alien children instead of planning battles." "It's disgusting. What do you suggest?" asked Merchant Prince Kolvex of the Etherian Collective. Vextar's eyes gleamed with desperate cunning. "If we cannot defeat them openly, we must work in secret. There are still species in the Outer Rim who have not fallen under human influence. Pirates, slavers, mercenaries, we can hire them to attack human colonies. And if that fails, then we burn the galaxy down rather than let them reshape it." President Oyuna sat across from Chancellor Vextar and tried to look calm. The alien leader's forearms were crossed over his chest and his black eyes showed nothing but anger. Behind him, representatives from 6 other species waited to hear her answer. "The Galactic Confederation demands immediate access to your new technology," Vextar said in his clicking voice. "Hiding such advances from your trading partners is against every treaty you have signed." "We're not hiding anything," Oyuna replied. "We're simply being careful. This technology is very powerful and very dangerous. That is exactly why we must study it. Lesser species should not have access to weapons that could threaten galactic peace." Oyuna felt her jaw tighten. Lesser species. After 300 years, the aliens still saw humans as children who needed to be watched and controlled. "I'm sorry, Chancellor, but we cannot share this technology at this time." Vextar's neck frills flared red with rage. "Then you force us to take other actions. All trade agreements with human colonies are suspended. No alien ships will carry human goods. No alien stations will refuel human vessels." The other aliens nodded agreement. They had used this tactic before to force human compliance. Without alien technology and trade routes, human colonies would struggle to survive. But this time was different. "That is your choice," Oyuna said calmly. "We respect your decision." Vextar blinked all 4 eyes in surprise. Usually humans begged and offered concessions when faced with trade sanctions. 3 days later, the first human ship built with architect technology left Earth's orbital shipyard. Captain Namgi stood on the bridge of the UES Ascendant and watched the stars shift around them. The new dark matter drive could cross the galaxy in hours instead of months. Dr. Han Solo reports the consciousness link is stable, his first officer announced. Namgi nodded. The entire crew was connected through architect neural technology. They could share thoughts, coordinate actions, and process information as a single mind while still keeping their individual personalities. Navigation. Plot a course for the Zilithian trade hub. Let's see how our new friends react to competition. The Ascendant folded space around itself and vanished. At the Zilithian hub, cargo ships waited in long lines to dock and unload. The aliens charged high fees for the privilege of using their station, knowing that traders had no other choice in this sector. Then space twisted, and the Ascendant appeared. The human ship was beautiful in a way that made alien engineers weep. Its hull seemed to be made of liquid starlight, flowing and changing as they watched. Energy danced along its surface in patterns that spoke of power beyond their understanding. This is Captain Nam Gi of the United Earth Vessel Ascendant. We're opening a new trade route through this system. Any merchant ship is welcome to use our services free of charge. The aliens stared as the Ascendant opened massive cargo bays. Inside, they could see more space than the ship's exterior could possibly contain. Somehow, the humans had learned to fold space inside their vessels. Within hours, merchant ships from a dozen species were lining up to trade with the humans instead of paying Zilithian fees. The aliens who had controlled trade in this sector for centuries watched their profits disappear. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as human ships appeared in every major trading system. They offered free transport, fair prices, and technology that made other species look primitive by comparison. But the most shocking discovery came from Commander Jiang Min, who was leading exploration missions into uncharted space. His ship, the UES Pioneer, could exist in multiple dimensions at once. While aliens saw one ship, there were actually dozens of Pioneer vessels exploring different regions simultaneously. "This is incredible," Dr. Bayakara transmitted from the Pioneer's science station. "We've mapped more new systems in the past week than the Confederation has discovered in the past century." The map she was creating showed resources and habitable worlds that alien explorers had completely missed. Planets rich in rare metals, systems perfect for colonization, and ancient ruins that held more architect technology. But Dr. Bayakara made an even more important discovery. While studying the ruins, she found that humans could interface with architect devices in ways that other species could not. Alien scientists who tried to operate the machines either failed completely or suffered severe mental damage. It's like the architects designed everything specifically for human brain patterns, she reported to Earth Command. "We're not just using their technology. We're their chosen inheritors." The news spread through human colonies like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, humans had something that made them special: ships that could fold space and time, technology that responded to human thoughts, ancient machines that only human hands could operate. Young people who had planned to spend their lives as alien servants suddenly had new choices. Human colonies that had struggled to survive began expanding into new systems. Earth itself, once a backwater planet, became the center of galactic attention. The alien powers watched these changes with growing alarm. In the Confederation Council, species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia found themselves discussing how to deal with the human problem. "They cannot be allowed to continue this expansion," declared General Thakvar of the Drakon military. "Already 17 systems have requested human protection instead of Confederation membership. Their technology violates natural law," added scientist Prime Keltoth of the Kyrax Collective. "Matter cannot be created from energy. Space cannot be folded. Consciousness cannot be linked. Yet they do all these things." Chancellor Vextar listened to the complaints and felt his power slipping away. For 3 centuries, the Confederation had ruled because they controlled the best technology. Now humans had something better, and they were sharing it freely with anyone who asked nicely. "We must find a way to take this technology for ourselves," he decided. "Send infiltration teams to human colonies, study their ships, capture their scientists if necessary." But every attempt failed. Human ships were protected by shields that could deflect any weapon. Human colonies were defended by orbital stations that existed in multiple dimensions at once, and human scientists seemed to know about every spy mission before it began. The truth was that Dr. Han Solo's consciousness-linking technology allowed humans to share information instantly across the galaxy. When one person learned something, they could pass it to everyone else through quantum-entangled thoughts. President Oyuna received reports of the alien infiltration attempts and sighed. She had hoped the other species would want to work together against the coming devourer threat. Instead, they were focused on stealing human technology. Dr. Han Sola, how many colonies have requested full consciousness integration? She asked during their daily briefing. 47 so far. The volunteer rate is incredible. People want to be part of something larger than themselves. Oyuna nodded. The consciousness linking technology allowed humans to work together in ways that seemed impossible. Entire colonies could coordinate their actions like a single organism, while still maintaining individual identity and free will. And Captain Nam Gi's report on the trade routes? Complete success. We've established free trade networks in 80% of Confederation space. Alien merchants are abandoning their old routes to work with us. Any signs of the Devourers? Dr. Han Sola paused. Through the consciousness link, she was connected to every human exploration ship in the galaxy. Their combined observations gave them a view of space that no single species had ever possessed, still 47 years out. But Captain Jiang Min found something interesting in the outer rim. Destroyed planets that match architect records of previous Devourer attacks. Oyuna felt a chill. The ancient enemy was still far away, but the evidence of their power was terrifying. Keep monitoring, and increase the pace of technology sharing with our allies. As she ended the briefing, Oyuna looked out at Earth's orbital shipyards. Dozens of new ships were under construction, each one incorporating the latest architect designs. Human crews trained with consciousness-linking technology that allowed them to operate vessels with impossible precision. The galaxy was changing fast. The question was whether it would change quickly enough to survive what was coming. Commander Li Day stared at his coffee cup and wished for better news. The Earth Defense Fleet was running low on everything again. Food, fuel, spare parts for their old ships. The alien traders charged more each month, knowing humans had no choice but to pay. His communication officer looked up from her station. Sir, we have a strange reading on the long-range scanners. Strange how? Li Day walked over to look at the screen. After 20 years in space, he had seen many strange things. Most of them meant trouble. It's a ship signature, but it's old. Really old. The computer says it matches something from 300 years ago. Li Day frowned. 300 years ago was when Earth still built great ships and sent them to explore the galaxy, before the aliens made it clear that humans were welcome as workers and traders but not as equals. Show me, he said. The screen filled with data streams and energy readings. Li Day had seen thousands of ship signatures in his career. This one made no sense. It was huge, much larger than any human ship ever built, but the basic pattern underneath all the strange new readings was familiar. Computer, compare this signature to historical records, he ordered. The ship's computer worked for several minutes. When it finished, the answer appeared on screen. Li Day felt his coffee cup slip from his fingers. UES Horizon. Launched 2087. Last contact 2089. Status. Lost with all hands. The Horizon. Every human child learned about that ship in school. It had carried 50,000 people to start a new colony beyond the Veil Nebula. The best and brightest Earth had to offer. Scientists, engineers, artists, farmers. They were going to build something wonderful in the dark spaces between stars. Instead, they vanished. No distress signal. No wreckage ever found. For 300 years, the Horizon had been a ghost story. Sir, the signature is getting stronger. Whatever it is, it's coming this way. Li Day activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Commander Li Day. We have an unknown contact approaching. Battle stations, but hold fire unless I give the word. Around him, his crew worked quickly to prepare their ship. The Earth Defense Fleet was small and their weapons were old. If this was some kind of alien trick, they would not last long in a fight. Contact in 30 minutes, his navigator reported. Li Day opened a channel to Earth Command. Admiral Kim Jun appeared on the screen, looking as tired as Li Day felt. Running the defense of human space was not an easy job these days. Admiral, we have a situation. I'm sending you scanner data now. Kim Jun studied the information for a long moment. His face went pale. That's impossible. The Horizon was destroyed centuries ago. That's what I thought too. But the signature is getting clearer as it approaches. Computer confidence is now at 97%. Could be aliens using our old codes to trick us, Kim Jun suggested, but he did not sound convinced. Maybe. We'll know soon enough. The next 20 minutes passed slowly. Li Day watched his screens as the unknown ship grew larger and larger. Whatever it was, it dwarfed his entire fleet. When it finally dropped out of hyperspace, his crew gasped. The ship that appeared before them was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It had the basic shape of the old Horizon, but everything else was different. The hull gleamed with metals that seemed to shift color in the light. Energy patterns danced across its surface like living things. Strange projections extended from the main body, humming with power. Most shocking of all, the ship was twice as large as the original Horizon. Lee Day had studied the old blueprints in the academy. This ship should not exist. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," his communication officer reported, her voice shaking. "Put it through." The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of another ship. A man in a captain's uniform sat in the command chair. He looked young, maybe 40 years old. Behind him, Lee Day could see crew members working at stations filled with technology he had never seen before. "This is Captain Kang Hyun of the UES Horizon, requesting permission to approach Earth space." Lee Day's mouth went dry. Kang Hyun had been the captain of the original Horizon. But that man would be over 350 years old by now, if he had somehow survived. This man looked like he could be the original captain's great-great-grandson. "Captain," Lee Day managed to say, "this is Commander Lee Day of the Earth Defense Fleet. You've been missing for 3 centuries. Where have you been?" Kang Hyun smiled, and something in that smile made Lee Day's skin crawl. It was not a cruel smile, but it held secrets. "Big ones. That's a long story, Commander. We've been exploring beyond the Veil Nebula, learning new things. Meeting new friends." He paused. "We need to speak with Earth Command immediately." "And Commander?" "Yes? You might want to contact the other colonies. All of them. What we learned out there changes everything." The transmission cut off, leaving Lee Day staring at a blank screen. Around him, his crew waited for orders. Outside, the impossible ship hung in space like a dream made real. Lee Day opened a channel to Admiral Kim Jun. "Sir, you're going to want to see this recording, and you might want to sit down first." Over the next few hours, as the Horizon moved slowly toward Luna Station, Lee Day watched his instruments with growing amazement. The ship's energy readings were off the charts. It was producing more power than some entire star systems. Its shields could probably stop anything in the human fleet without even noticing. But more than that, there were smaller ships launching from the Horizon's bays. Dozens of them. Each one was sleek and fast, built with the same impossible technology. They moved through space like dancers, their paths too perfect to be controlled by normal humans. "Sir?" his science officer called out. "I'm reading some kind of scanning beam from the Horizon. It's looking at everything. Our ships, the nearby asteroids, even the solar system beyond us. Are they targeting us?" "No, sir. It's more like they're cataloging everything, learning what's changed since they left." Lee Day nodded slowly. That made sense, if any of this made sense. A lot had changed in 300 years. Most of it for the worse. As the Horizon approached Luna Station, every news service in human space was broadcasting the return. After centuries of being the weak species in a galaxy of strong ones, humans finally had something interesting to talk about. But Lee Day had a feeling that interesting was not the right word. Looking at that ship, with its impossible technology and its crew that should have been dead for generations, he thought a better word might be dangerous. Not dangerous to humans. Dangerous to everyone else. The lost Earth ship was back, and it had brought friends. Admiral Kim Jun had not slept in 2 days. The Horizon was now docked at Luna Station, and every scientist in human space wanted to study it. The problem was that the ship's crew was being very careful about who they let inside. Dr. Yoon Hana pressed her face against the observation window and stared at the massive vessel. As the head of xenobiology for Earth Command, she had studied alien technology for 20 years. Nothing had prepared her for this. "The hull material is completely unknown," she told Kim Jun. "Our scanners can't even tell us what it's made of. And those energy patterns moving across the surface? They're not random. There's a pattern like a language we can't read." Kim Jun nodded. He had bigger problems than mysterious hull materials. Half the Galactic Confederation was demanding answers about Earth's new supership. The other half was offering to buy whatever technology had made it possible. "Have they agreed to let us aboard yet?" "Captain Kang Hyun says he'll allow a small team. Medical staff only, to start with. He wants to make sure his crew is healthy after their long journey." Kim Jun found that excuse strange. The crew members they had seen looked perfect. Too perfect. Not one of them looked older than 40, even though they should all be ancient by now. Dr. Yoon Hana gathered her team and prepared to board the Horizon. With her went Dr. Lim Wu, the station's best physicist, and Commander Li Day, who had insisted on coming along. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and they stepped into a corridor that should not exist. The walls were smooth and white, but they seemed to glow from within. The floor felt solid under their feet, but it also seemed to respond to their presence, becoming slightly softer with each step. "Welcome aboard," said a woman's voice. They turned to see Chief Engineer Cho Bin walking toward them. She looked exactly like her pictures from 300 years ago, except her uniform was made of the same strange material as the ship's hull. "Chief Cho," Dr. Yoon Hana said carefully, "you look very well for someone who should be over 300 years old." Cho Bin smiled. "That's one of the things we learned out there. Time isn't as fixed as we used to think." She led them through corridors filled with crew members who all looked impossibly young and healthy. The technology around them was beyond anything Dr. Lim Wu had ever seen. Walls that could change color and shape, floors that seemed to know where people wanted to go, control panels that responded to thoughts instead of touch. "Where exactly did you go?" Commander Li Day asked. "Beyond the Veil Nebula like we planned. But we found something there. Something wonderful and terrible." They entered a large room filled with floating displays and strange machines. At the center stood Captain Kang Hyun and a woman they didn't recognize. "This is Dr. Park Sua, our Chief Science Officer," Kang Hyun said. "She can explain what happened to us better than I can." Dr. Park Sua nodded to the visitors. Like everyone else on the ship, she looked young and healthy. But her eyes were old, very old. "We found the architects," she said simply. Dr. Yoon Hana frowned. "I've never heard of that species. They're not a species anymore. They were once, millions of years ago. Now they're something else. Something beyond physical bodies." She gestured to one of the floating displays. It showed a star system with structures that hurt to look at. Buildings that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could process. They built cities that exist in folded space. They learned to move between dimensions like we move between rooms. They became pure consciousness, leaving their bodies behind. "What did they want with you?" Dr. Lim Wu asked. "They were curious about us. Humans, I mean. They said we were unusual." "Unusual how?" Dr. Park Sua walked to another display. This one showed brain scans, but not like any brain scans they had seen before. These brains seemed to glow with inner light. Most species they had met were either very logical or very emotional. Humans are both. We can think clearly and feel deeply at the same time. The architects found this fascinating. She touched the display and it changed to show the Earth as it had been 300 years ago. They offered to teach us, to share some of their knowledge. But there was a price. "What kind of price?" Commander Li Day asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. "We had to stay with them for 300 years. We had to learn not just their technology but their way of thinking, and we had to prove that humans could handle what they wanted to give us." Captain Kang Hyun stepped forward. "Show them the healing chamber." Dr. Park Sua led them to another room where a large egg-shaped device hummed quietly. Inside the transparent shell they could see a man lying peacefully. His chest rose and fell slowly. "Navigator Sun Mira found him yesterday," Dr. Park Sua explained. "He's been dead for 2 weeks." Dr. Yoon Hana stared. "That's impossible." "The healing chamber can bring back anyone who died within the last month. It rebuilds the body from stored patterns and restores the consciousness from quantum echoes." She opened a panel on the device, revealing controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts. "This is architect technology, but only humans can operate it. Something about our brain patterns makes us compatible with their machines." Dr. Lim Wu was taking notes as fast as he could. "What else can you do?" "We can build anything from pure energy. We can fold space to travel instantly between stars. We can link our minds together to solve problems no single person could handle." Dr. Park Sua paused and looked at each of them carefully. "But the most important thing we learned is that we're not alone in the universe. There are other things out there. Dangerous things. And they're coming." "What kind of dangerous things?" Admiral Kim Jun's voice came over the communication system. He had been listening from Luna Station. Captain Kang Hyun answered. "The architects called them devourers. They consume entire galaxies, turning everything into part of their hive mind. They've destroyed thousands of civilizations. When will they arrive? 50 years. Maybe less." The room fell silent. Dr. Yoon Hana felt her legs go weak. 50 years to prepare for something that destroyed galaxies. "The current galactic powers don't know," Dr. Park Sua continued. "The Confederation's technology is too primitive to detect them coming. But with architect knowledge, we can see them clearly. Why did the architects choose humans to warn everyone? Dr. Lim Wu asked. Because we're the only species they found who could learn their technology and still remain human. Other species either couldn't understand it or became something else entirely when they tried to use it. Captain Kang Hyun walked to the window and looked out at Earth's solar system. We came back to prepare. Humanity needs to become something more than it is, and we need to do it fast. Dr. Yoon Hana looked around the impossible room filled with impossible technology. 3 days ago, humans had been the weakest species in the galaxy. Now they had machines that could bring back the dead. What do you need from us? She asked. Everything, Captain Kang Hyun replied. We need to build ships, train crews, and share this technology with other humans. The architects gave us the tools to save the galaxy. He turned back to face them. The question is whether we're brave enough to use them.